we began a project to replace the Flagler Memorial Bridge with an adjacent bridge structure, maintaining traffic on the old bridge. And as we have done pile driving, or actually we do a process where we vibrate in a sleeve and then we drill out the interior of the sleeve, then we put concrete and steel inside and we make a pile. It's not actually pile driving, but that process creates a lot of vibration. And we observed last fall that there was settlement of the old bridge as we were doing this operation. So we would stop the operation and the settlement would frequently continue the next day, perhaps even 2 days, and then it would stop. And we'd say, okay, well, what was that all about? Then we'd do some more foundation work, and the same thing would happen. And as this happened, we had problems with the two bascule leaves that open, would misalign, they would jam. We had to deal with these problems. And you know, we would shim it, work on the mechanics, and adjust. What was happening was that one of the big concrete supports for the bascule leaves was settling, and it has now settled 1 5/8 inches. May not sound like a whole lot, but it's a whole lot for a big piece of concrete to move like that, and it puts a lot of stress in the entire bridge structure. It's just not hanging together. And it begins to develop another problem, which is that not only is the mechanical aspect of the leaves not going to work right, then we're going to get physical stress of the concrete, and we can get cracks, spalling, perhaps even a more severe failure of the bridge. And we're going to have engineers that talk to you in detail about that. One of our responses to this has been, for the last several months, to have reduced number of lanes on the bridge and no trucks. And right now, today, the bridge is safe as long as we do no pile driving. That's why we're still allowing people to drive on it. It is now our conclusion that as we resume the pile driving, the bridge is almost certainly going to settle some more, and it will become permanently unsafe. So we shut the work down and we decide, okay, what can we do about this? Can we repair the old bridge so that it stops settling and is permanently safe as the detour route during the construction? Can we put in a temporary bridge? What can we do? And we looked at all those alternatives. All of them create foundation work vibration, which we believe is going to further damage the old bridge. And that's an untenable situation. There's no margin of error left to keep that bridge in a safe operation. We believe that when we resume any type of foundation work, whether it was any of those options I just mentioned, it's going to deteriorate the bridge and we're going to have to close it permanently. That's our projection. So we have engineers that are going to tell you the details of that and what our plan is to deal with that. Then we're going to answer any questions, allow public comment, and we'll be here as long as you have concerns. We have the room till 10, I think, but at least until that long. And we want to hear any ideas that you have, any questions that you have, and deal with all that. We're very cognizant of the serious nature of this problem and the impact that it's going to have on the community, and we're very concerned about that, and we're doing our best with a very difficult situation. One of the questions that we've heard is, why didn't you think this was going to happen? Because it never happens. This bridge has been there since 1938, 86 years, and it hasn't moved. And now we do this construction and it settles. We don't actually know exactly what the piles look like underneath this big block of concrete, but they are wooden piles driven into the ground, a large number of them. But we don't have plans that tell us how many piles there are, how deep they are, what they sit on. There's a lot of unknowns that we can't know because they're way underground, and we don't have any records, and we weren't there in 1938. As far as why didn't we think it was going to happen, it never happens. This is totally unexpected, unusual. This doesn't happen. But it is happening here, and we're having to deal with it. So I'm going to get some more knowledgeable engineers up here, starting with our Director of Operations, Courtney Drummond.
Good afternoon. As Jim said, my name is Courtney Drummond. I'm the Director of Operations. What does that mean? Well, it means that I'm in charge of construction, maintenance, traffic operations, and material testing in the counties Jim mentioned. Palm Beach being one of them. So I have the, I have the honor this afternoon of kind of going through this with you. Answering any questions you may have at the end as well. We started construction on this project back in September of 2012. We began construction on the east pier, southeast pier. On in early October, that's better. In early October, we started to have some problems with the locks that locked the bridge in place in the downward position. They started to bind up. Like Jim said, at first we were wondering what's causing all of this. What's the issue? We've never had situations in which bridge started to settle. So the first thing we did, we said, okay, maybe it's just misalignment of the leaves. So we shimmed those. We reopened the bridge. On October 23rd, we then realized, okay, the lights went out. On October 23rd, we realized that, I guess you can see it better. We had realized that there was some settlement on the East Main Bridge Pier. We confirmed that. That caused us to close the bridge. We closed the bridge from November 5th to November 12th. And we closed the bridge so that we could first of all, the locks within the bridge structure did not work anymore. So we had to remove those locks and then we put in a temporary lock. That's what you see right there. We put that in the sidewalk. Therefore, we had to close the bridge to pedestrian traffic. And we had we'll show you this a little furthermore later on, some vertical misalignment, so we had to take out bicycle traffic on the bridge as well. We then restricted traffic on the bridge to 2 lanes, took away all the commercial traffic off the bridge. Heavy trucks off the bridge. We posted cops at both ends of the bridge to prevent trucks from getting onto the bridge because there is a potential for residual settlement on the bridge.
Excuse me, is this the informal meeting or the welcome introduction?
I'm just kind of giving you a history of what's going on, where we're at is a presentation of what's going to happen, at the end of which we'll open it up to questions.
Because I missed some, and I was here for 6:30, and it's 6:27 now, and it's already.
You haven't missed anything. On January 14th, when we realized we had so much settlement on the East Pier, we moved construction away from the East Pier to kind of analyze what's going on the East Pier. We moved to the West Pier. It's the west side of the bridge, southwest side of the bridge, close to the marina. We started work there on January 14th. On January 23rd, we noticed that there was settlement of this pier as well. One of the indications of this is that the locks on the bridge, the ones that we put in the sidewalk, they start to malfunction again. They don't open, so they can't pull back. The bridge can't go up in the upright positions. So then we had to do some work on those locks as well to adjust those locks. What we then did is move all construction away from from the main bascule piers, the ones with the leaves, the ones that open up and close up. That's the ones we call the bascule piers. The first pier that settled is this one. That's the East Pier, Southeast Pier. There's 2 foundation sections to each pier, one here, one there, and they carry a concrete member that ties the 2 together. This pier, this foundation right here, settled 1 5/8 inches. On the west side, this one settled 1/8 of an 3/16 of an inch there. This is what I'm talking about. Now, when we started having settlement on the bridge, we asked our structural guys who know a lot about this, to analyze and tell us what would be the critical settlement on a member on the bridge, meaning what would be the critical settlement on this member here? What we came back is that 2 inch would be the critical. We're currently inch and 5/8. This is a model of this area here. That area that you've seen circled. What we've done is model that, did an engineering analysis of it to see what are the stresses within the structure. The key here is green is good, red is bad. This is a structure, this is with 1/8 of an inch of settlement, all green. We can tolerate 1/8 of an inch. This is an inch and 5/8. That's one foundation structure. That's the other foundation structure I showed you. This is the member that tie them together. This, as you can see, is red. That's an area that indicates stresses in this member is more likely to result in failure. That's why, it's all in red, as you can see from there. As you can see in the legend, this is stress likely that will result in failure. That's where we're currently at. What are some of the effects that we will see with settlement in the bridge? We'll see cracking. Structure will crack. That will indicate where some of those stresses are. We'll have lock problems. The locks will bind up. We'll have mechanical misalignment. The gears, things in the bridge will not work as well as they should. Misalignment of the movable spans. Spans don't line up. They're either vertically or horizontally as they should, because there's two leaves. As you know, the bridge opens with two leaves. When they don't align, that's what the results. So having said that, I'm going to show you what we've seen out there. I've explained to you what to look for, what are the issues that we will see, visual impacts that we'll see based on all these stresses in the bridge. I'm going to show you what are some of those impacts that we're seeing out there now. This is what we call a flanking span. Technical terms, but what it means is it's a span adjacent to the channel. Now, over here you can see the channels on this side. That's the fender system. This is just a span right adjacent to the channel. This is the southeast flanking span. So it's on the east side, south side of the bridge. What I'm going to show you is this. Up here we're starting to see a lot of cracking. I just have an arrow showing it there. I have more details of it here. As you can see, sections of concrete are starting to fall out of this section. As you can see, the cracks are pretty wide right now. This is an area also on the bridge where you can see pieces of concrete have started to fall out. These are some of the cracks that we're seeing underneath the span on that section of bridge. These are all due to settlement on the bridge. This is the member that I talked about, that you saw a model with all those stresses in it. This is one foundation area. This is the second foundation for that east pier. This is the member that tied them together, the one that had all those red lines in it. We show it over there. This is what is happening to it right now. This is a key member, and just to explain it to you. This foundation section here, that foundation column there, this ties the two to prevent this so that they can both move together. And it also prevents the structure from twisting. Let me get around here. What you see up here, these are just a counterweight on the bridge. It helps the bridge, think of a seesaw. This is the weight that helps to pull down the bridge when we open the bridge. So this is the leaf of the bridge here. That's the section you drive on. So this comes down. When that goes up, this comes down. This member ties the two together to prevent this from twisting or moving away. This is a very key member. That's the one you saw with all the red lines in it. This is what is happening to that member. It's starting to crack where the two come together. Where the foundation, this is where it ties together both. This is that same member with all these cracks that's starting to form in it. These are all the stresses starting to show up in the bridge. Here's a quarter placed on one of those cracks, and it gives you an idea how wide they're starting to get. When we move to the west side of the bridge and we started construction on that side, this is what we call the flanking span. It's right adjacent to the next where the bascules are. Right here you can see where we started with some of the drill shaft work. That's where the new bridge will be, where you see this template over here with that. This is what we started seeing here as well when this settled 316. This one settled 316. These are some of the cracks that have started to form in this structure. These are some of the areas where we've seen concrete starting to break off and come out of the structure on that span that we just looked at. These are some of the stuff that we're having with the span. You can start seeing some of the misalignment of the different sections. Let me get caught up here. Sorry. Having to talk and look at the picture. Can't see it sideways. I can guarantee you DOT don't lay stripes like this. This is where you can see the bridge has actually shifted, and the spans don't line up. These are the movable spans, they don't line up. That's the actual shift, visual shift that you're seeing that's going on when the structure settled. This is some of the vertical misalignment that you're seeing. This is where one span meets the other span. This goes up, this section goes up, as you can see. Those are the lights that tell people to stop. We don't go down when they're on the bridge. This is where the edge of the sidewalk, both pieces should line up. They don't. You can see right through, both vertical and horizontal. Here's another picture of that looking at. You can see the gap here on the outside edge of that leaf. That is a vertical misalignment. That's also vertical and a horizontal misalignment. That's all results of the settling. We talked about, with the analysis would tell us that these things would happen. We're actually physically seeing them in the field as to what is actually, this is a visual reminder of what's going on. When we looked at all of those stuff and we looked at what is going on with what we have to do and what remains to be done, we haven't really started any bridge construction on this bridge. We have 108 drill shafts to put in. We've only put in 6. 2 adjacent to the structure. We've seen this much damage to the existing structure. We recognize that this has become a safety issue. The minute we start to work out there again, we're going to have issues. The structure is going to settle. What we've looked at many alternatives. We've been asked to, and suggestions, we got some suggestions as well from previous meetings, and we've looked into those. I'm sure there'll be a question on one of those, and we'll be happy to take those and answer those when we get there. But we've analyzed all the structure, all the options. We've run out of options. The only option that we have that ensures public safety is full closure of the bridge, accelerate the construction to get it done. This is the schedule that we're looking at here, and I'll give you a little idea what it is. This is where we'll be working on all the foundation work. We'll be having 2 crews out there. We'll be working both from the east side and from the west side, from the town of Palm Beach side, from the city of West Palm Beach side. We'll have 2 sets of crews operational out there, 2 sets of equipment out there, and we'll be working. The town has told us that they're open to 24-hour work site. Our contractor has agreed to utilize that, recognizing that there are some efforts that will have to, because of the nature of the construction, concrete doesn't cure overnight. You don't get full strength overnight. So we recognize that, but this is a schedule that we would be working from both sides with a substructure. We're working both sides now. Substructure means foundation. Sorry, getting technical here. This is where we'll be working on the section that you see above the water line, the superstructure as we call it. This is working both on the approaches, all those archways that you currently see as archways out there. We'll be giving you nice pretty ones there. And we'll also be doing, this is also working on the bascule at the same time. So we'll be working concurrently, both sides of the bridge, trying to accelerate the bridge, getting the bridge done in the fall of 2014. We're still working with our suppliers, the contractor is still working with their suppliers to see if we can get some of these materials, because we have both machinery that we have to put into the bridge, and there's both, concrete beams that we have to get out there. And there's also the metal grating, the actual leaves that you see out there. And we're working with our suppliers to see if we can accelerate some of those. But right now, what we have is the best time frame is fall of 2014. We're still working through those. Department is committed to getting this done. My boss is holding me accountable to get this done, and I'm sure you're going to hold me accountable to get this done. These are some of the impacts that we recognize that are happening to the community because of when we propose a full closure. However, a full bridge closure does mean that we'll be able to accelerate the construction. Also, once we start construction, we will have some settlement. So we got to be, we're looking at, if everything makes it through, great. But, it's possible, it's not probable. We're looking at we'll have only an impact to only one full season. We're looking at no additional impact to the construction of Southern Boulevard Bridge. We know there's an impact to emergency response, and we'll be talking about that in a little while. And we know there are some impacts with traffic flows. We know the two-lane, as we have on the bridge right now, we have introduced some, so I wouldn't say some traffic challenges. I know you'll have better terms for that from me. You'll probably tell me it's a star impact. But I understand, we recognize that. We recognize that when we do a full closure, it's going to have much greater effect on the community, businesses. So we have a plan that we've put in place. And to discuss that plan, what I'm going to do is ask Mark Plass, our traffic operations engineer for District 4, to come up and talk a little bit about that.
Taking any questions?
We will after Mark's presentation. I will answer every question, but maybe I'm going to punch up a couple of things that Courtney said first. Pretty dramatic pictures. Is the bridge safe to drive on? Yes. Right now, it's safe. We would close it if it wasn't safe. We believe that. We're confident of that. We also believe that it's not safe to drive on it when we reinitiate any kind of foundation work that creates a vibration. So we've suspended that kind of work. When we start that up again, we're going to have to close it. Why do we believe we need a complete closure? Because when we close the bridge to start the pile driving again, we expect it to settle some more. If it reaches 2 inches instead of 1 5/8 inches, which is only a very small margin, our conclusion is at that point, it is not safe to drive on, even if we're not doing pile driving at that time. It's no longer safe if we get just a little bit more settlement. So we're confident that with any more foundation work, it's going to settle more, and it's not going to reopen after we start the foundation work again. We've also been asked, well, what if we're wrong? What if it stops settling and it's never going to settle again? Well, we'll find that out. When we start the pile driving, if the bridge doesn't move, then we'll change our plans. We've still got a bridge there that works. I wouldn't hold out any hope of that. Everything indicates to us, with only 6 foundations in and so many left to go, this bridge is going to be destroyed during the construction, and that's unavoidable. Courtney talked about the schedule. The contractor is still working on the details, but they believe they can accelerate 6 or 7 months. The bridge closure actually makes their operation easier. They can put in crews on both sides of the channel, 2 crews putting in foundations simultaneously. Both the town and the city have said that they would support extended hours of work, as many hours as the contractor can get out there and accelerate this work to get it done quicker. So we're going to challenge the contractor. They're still looking at their plans. Can they do better than November 14, October 14? Can they get August 14? We're going to, I expect we're going to put some money on the table, acceleration and bonus, to give the contractor more incentive to get it done quicker. We're going to do whatever we can to accelerate the construction. The next part of the presentation is about, okay, you take one bridge out that goes to the island. What about the other bridges? How are they going to operate? What sort of traffic jams are we going to have? What are we going to do about it? And Mark Plass is our district traffic operations engineer. He is a specialist in optimizing the traffic flow on lanes and dealing with that kind of problem. And he has an extensive plan that he's been working with both the town, the city, the county. The county engineer is here. He wants to be recognized. But that partnership is already working on this problem, getting ready, and Mark is going to talk about a few of those traffic control things that we can do during this difficult period. Mark?
Well, as Secretary Wolf noted, my name is Mark Plass. I'm the District Traffic Operations Engineer, and it's my job to make sure that traffic during the time that the bridge is closed flows as safely and as efficiently as possible in the network. Before I start on the actual presentation, I'd just like to make a few background remarks. What we have is a situation where we have 3 bridge connections between the mainland and the peninsula, and you've got a total of 10 lanes on these bridge connections, 4 on Flagler, 4 on Okeechobee, 2 on Southern. And with the closure of Flagler, we're going to be down to 6 lanes connecting the peninsula to the mainland. So that's a 40% decrease in capacity, mainland to peninsula. So as we move forward with this, we now have the challenge of, in a network that's got less capacity, how do we manage the flow of traffic to keep it as safe and as efficient as possible? We're going to focus on several things, and I'll get into greater detail on these in a minute. But at a high level, what we're interested in doing is making sure the traffic can get onto and off of the peninsula as safely and efficiently as possible. We want to make sure that the traffic that is diverted onto different roadways in the network within the city flows as smoothly as possible. We have an understanding that you've got issues with the bridge openings, you've got railroad grade crossings that impact traffic, we have crashes that impact traffic. All of these things are going to impact this network. And the issue is, what are we going to do about it to minimize the overall impact of this during the next roughly 14 months when the bridge is closed? To kind of give an order of magnitude of the issue here, the Flagler Bridge carries about 17,000 cars a day. Okeechobee is probably about 20,000. Southern Boulevard is about 13,000 a day on the bridges. So we've got to redistribute this roughly 17,000 vehicles a day that are on the Flagler Bridge into the existing network. We can't expand the existing network. We can't widen roadways. So we're going to be constrained to use the network basically as it is now. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a presentation of the details of what we're going to be doing to help the traffic flow during this period. In order for this to work, it's absolutely key that we establish and maintain an effective partnership with the town, the city, the county, law enforcement, emergency responders, the Coast Guard, and the railroad. All of these are going to be key players in the strategies that we're going to be developing and implementing. It's my intention that we have regular meetings with all of these key players throughout this entire 14-month period to be able to regularly assess and refine the strategies that we're going to be using to manage this traffic. So let me move forward here. Okay. So what we've currently done is we work with the Coast Guard to eliminate 4 bridge openings a day between the Flagler Bridge and Okeechobee during peak periods. Right now, these bridges open every 30 minutes. And so we've managed to eliminate, working with the Coast Guard, one of those openings. We understand that even under normal conditions, the bridge openings are problematic from a traffic perspective. Certainly when there's one less bridge, it's going to be even more problematic. So it's key that we maintain contact with the Coast Guard and that within the constraints that the Coast Guard operates, that we optimize the timing of the openings and we minimize the openings to the extent that we can. So we've already started with the Coast Guard and we have reduced some openings now. Second thing that we're doing, I'm sorry if I can't quite see this here. Okay, the second thing that we're doing is we have gone out and we've taken a look, a preliminary look, at all of the intersections and sections of roadway on the diversion routes in the town and the city. This is our best estimate of what these routes are going to be. We're going to learn more after the bridge closes. But the reason that we did that is that there's a number of intersections that we believe right off the bat we could make some changes to the signal operation, we can make some changes to other traffic controls, things like turn restrictions and this sort of thing, to help the traffic flow more efficiently locally. Some of these changes that we make, in fact, may become permanent, and I think we're going to learn that there's some aspects of traffic control at the intersections within the network that have existed for many years that maybe need to be revisited, and this is the opportunity to do that, to make these intersections work more efficiently and simply leave it that way after the bridge opens. So we've gone out and we've taken a preliminary look, my office has done this, at the intersections on the diversion routes. We're going to continue to look at those intersections with representatives of the town and the city, particularly the police departments with both of these entities, because they have a lot of intimate knowledge of traffic patterns, more than we know about this. And we want to take advantage of the knowledge that they have to better understand what's going on today and what changes we can make at the intersections themselves. So this is the first thing we've done. The second thing we're planning to do is what I'm calling active traffic management. And what this means is this. We have the network that I've described. It's basically going to consist of Okeechobee, Southern Boulevard. We may look at Lake Worth Road as well as a potential outlet. We've got north-south roads, Olive, Dixie. We've got South County Road, other key roadways within this network that consist really of the town and of roughly we'll say the eastern half of the city of West Palm Beach. We've got I-95 as part of this network as well. So what we want to do is we want to be in a position to be able to observe what is going on in this network. And so we're going to take advantage of our partnership with Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County has a very sophisticated traffic management center, and we're going to partner with them, and we have already put staff in that center that's going to begin to monitor the network that I've just described. We're going to start installing closed-circuit television cameras within this network. Their feeds will go back to the traffic management center, and the monitoring staff is going to be able to monitor in real time key intersections, key sections of roadway, key activity centers. So we're going to have the ability to understand very quickly what's going on, and working with Palm Beach County, who is the signal maintaining agency, and working with the town of Palm Beach to upgrade some of their traffic signal equipment, we're going to be in a position to be able to adjust the timing of traffic signals very quickly from this traffic management center. So we intend to have staff in this center certainly during peak periods, expanded hours during the season, during periods where there are special events in the city and or the town, and other instances where it makes sense to do this. And they'll be able to monitor the operation of the intersections. They'll be able to monitor what's going on when the bridge is open. They'll be able to monitor what's going on at the railroad grade crossings. And they'll be able to respond in two ways to things that might go wrong. They'll be able to respond by adjusting traffic signal timing when there's instances of unusual congestion noted. They'll be able to coordinate with law enforcement in the event a crash is detected somewhere to help coordinate the rapid removal of vehicles involved in a crash. They'll be able to coordinate with the railroad in the event that there's a malfunction at one of the gate crossings and the gate stays down longer than it should. So in a nutshell, what we're going to use is the Palm Beach County Traffic Management Center as the nerve center for this traffic management system that we're going to be deploying in both the town and the city. Now, really key to this system is something that's not based on technology, and that is law enforcement. And we're going to place a very high emphasis on partnering with the town and the city to provide resources to have expanded law enforcement presence in this network to be able to manually control traffic at key intersections as a way to supplement signal control. So we're going to have one dimension of this, which is going to be based on law enforcement, monitoring the network, and manually controlling intersections as need be. We'll have another layer of this, which is going to be based on actual the technology of visually monitoring a network, modifying the signal control in real time, coordinating the management of events, which could be crashes, bridge openings, railroad activity, and that sort of thing. And over time, what we're going to be doing is, I believe, getting better and better at doing this. And this is why when I started my remarks, I noted that really key to this is the fact that this is a partnership. This isn't the Department of Transportation working in a vacuum trying to manage this network. We have to take advantage of the local knowledge, and the local knowledge, you know, really exists at the town and the city and the county levels, because these are the entities that experience the traffic. These are the entities that have probably the clearest understanding of the traffic patterns and where there's opportunities for us to make traffic move more efficiently. One of the things that I've talked to my staff about already, who's going to be involved in actually making this work, is that we're going to be open to any idea that people have to move traffic more efficiently. We've had suggestions made to us, for example, on the possibility of taking Southern Boulevard over the bridge and making it one way in one direction during certain times of the day, one way in the opposite direction during certain times of the day. Ideas like that. We've had a suggestion made of looking at the Okeechobee Bridge and having the possibility of not allowing left turns at certain times of the day. Nothing is off the table at this point as far as we're concerned. And you know, what I've told my staff is that people who regularly drive this network know more about it than I do. They probably know more about it than my staff does. And I think there's going to be a lot of good ideas that's going to come out of this. And we want to make ourselves available to accept these ideas, to vet these ideas, and the ones that make sense, that are going to help, that are going to be supported by the town and or the city, depending on where they are, we're going to implement as part of this traffic management system. Another feature of this system is going to be that as we get it up and running, we're going to tie this system into the 511 system. And 511 is a system that provides traveler information. The state of Florida has a statewide 511 system. What we're going to do is we're going to create a subset of that system which is focused completely on the network that we're managing in the town and the city. And that 511 component is going to provide information on the performance of the network. It'll provide ultimately information on travel times on different links of the network so people can make educated choices. We will be able to provide through the 511 system notification of significant events in the network that are going to disrupt travel flow in the network. Those of you that drive I-95 have probably seen the large electronic signs overhead. These are signs that we use to manage incidents on I-95. We're going to bring those signs into the managed network for this bridge closure, and we're going to start using those signs to provide information to motorists on I-95 about things like travel time to the town of Palm Beach via Southern Boulevard versus via Okeechobee Boulevard. If there's incidents in the network that we don't want them driving in toward because it's going to create additional congestion, we're going to notify them of that before they leave I-95, and ideally give them alternate routes if there are, or at least let them know if you go this way, there's more delay than if you go a different way. Now, our goal is to get phase one operational by the end of this month. And we already have staff in the TMC that's been training on how to manage arterial traffic. They've had training in the cameras we're using. They've had training in the systems we're going to be using. And now we're going to focus entirely on this network with this staff. So we believe by the end of this month we'll be up and running with staff in the TMC to monitor this network and cameras deployed to help them do that. In addition to that, we're going to start working immediately with our partner agencies to begin to establish what we call the operational protocols. How are we going to manage this network? What are the chains of command? What are the rules we're going to use? How are we going to analyze new ideas that people come to us with that are going to improve the traffic flow in the network? We've got law enforcement, the fire departments, emergency responders, again, the railroad, the Coast Guard, and so on. And so it's important for us to be able to develop the protocols, the rules, if you will, by which we're going to manage this network, because there's a lot of different entities involved in doing this. Starting this month, or starting in March, we're going to begin doing that. And we're going to continue to refine these protocols throughout the duration of the bridge closure. We're going to get better and better at doing this, working together as a partnership. So By the end of March, our plan is monitors in the TMC, the initial deployment of cameras in the network. As we learn more about the network from our partners, we will likely deploy other camera equipment at other critical intersections and sections of the network until we have an optimal deployment where we can see what we need to see when we need to see it. The second phase of this, our plan is to have operational by the fall. And the second phase of this is to upgrade the signal control. The town of Palm Beach has about 16 signalized intersections in the town. The city of West Palm Beach, I'm not quite sure how many they have, but it's significantly more than 16. What we're going to do is at key intersections along key components of this network, we're going to upgrade the equipment that actually controls the signals and put more advanced equipment in there that allows the signals to be adjusted much faster, that allows the signals to be much more responsive to changes in traffic. So if there is a crash somewhere, the signals can change their timing much more quickly to be able to move the traffic to the extent that we can move it away from the incident. Concurrent with this, it's absolutely critical that we deploy, or we work with our partners to deploy law enforcement officers to be able to manually control traffic at key intersections during specific times of the day and in response to events, special events, crashes, and so on. And so at the beginning of all this, there's going to be a combination of management techniques. Law enforcement officers in the field, traffic signal control. Both of these are being monitored from the Traffic Management Center to make them work more efficiently. Over time, as we learn more about the network from our partners and our experience in managing it, we may find that we need more or less law enforcement. We may find that we need more or fewer cameras. We need more or less advanced traffic signal control equipment in the network. So our goal is to have, by the fall of this year, the full version of what I've said up and running. We may well expand it beyond that after the fall, depending on how well the network is performing. We will be producing performance measures for this network that we're going to report on a regular basis, so people have an understanding of what kind of return we're getting for the emphasis we're placing on managing the network. This will be done as part of the Traveler Information Program that we're going to be providing as part of this. Okay. Okay, so this again is a synopsis that shows some pictures. You can see roughly what these cameras look like. The camera's got the green circle around it. The Traffic Management Center, that's not exactly what Palm Beach County Center looks like, but it's pretty close. It's a building, it's a network. It uses the Traffic Management Center's capabilities to reach out to the partners to better coordinate incidents, or the response to incidents, coordinate the deployment of law enforcement officers to manually control intersections, contact the railroad in the event there's issues there, the Coast Guard in the event there's issues there, the contractor who's doing the bridge work. You name it, we can contact them from there. This is where the partnership has, this is the partnership's brain, if you will. The system that I've noted, which is the cameras, the advanced controller equipment, this can be reconfigured. It can be rearranged, relocated to other intersections if need be, very easily. It can be expanded if need be very easily during the course of this process. And I think it's important to recognize, and I've said this a couple of times, and I want to stress it again, that this is going to be a learning process. I'm not going to tell you that right out of the box on day one we're going to be operating this network optimally. Because of the partnership, we're going to learn how to do it better and better. We're going to get feedback from the partners, feedback from the public. We're going to value that feedback because it's going to help us get better faster at doing this. And we're going to report back to everyone on how well we're doing based on the feedback we're getting. So the partnership is really key to the success of all of this, I believe. So I guess just to wrap up here, we have a challenge here to manage this traffic. There's been, as I noted, about a 40% reduction in capacity just in the links between the peninsula and the mainland. We've got a defined network that we can manage. We can use the technology. We can use protocols that we establish to help us use the technology. We can take advantage of the partnership that we have with the town, the city, the county, other entities. We can take advantage of the ideas that our partners have to better refine this network to make it work as best as possible during this period of time. And I think what we might find is that at the end of the 14-month period, when the new bridge is open, we might find that some or all of what we've deployed we want to leave permanently. because it's worked well enough that we want to make it a permanent component of how traffic is managed in the town and the city. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. He'll still be here for the question and answer period, as will Courtney and a bunch of our other staff. We're just about done, but a couple points I'd like to make. I forget whether it came out. We don't propose to start pile driving and close the old bridge until April 1st. Wait until after the season, April 1st, that's a Monday. That's when we currently expect to close the bridge. May 1st? Mayor, what are you thinking? You don't? Okay, we've been talking April 1st, but you know, part of this meeting is to get feedback from people, and if you want to suggest a different date than that, you're pushing the conclusion date out a month too if you do that. So, okay. Another question you're likely to ask is, many of you know that we're going to replace the Southern Boulevard Bridge as well. And that won't happen until the new Flagler is open to traffic. Then we'll start on Southern. And your question is going to be, is the same problem going to happen on Southern? And the answer is, we didn't think it was going to happen on this. We're shocked that it did. There's no reason to believe it'll happen on Southern. But even more than that, Southern is not as old. And it is on concrete piles, relatively modern concrete piles, and Flagler is on wooden piles. It's a very different scenario. No reason to believe that we would have anything like this on Southern. So I would set that aside. Not going to happen. We didn't think it would happen on this bridge either, but there's no reason to be concerned about it happening a couple of years from now on Southern.